And then again, man, like we were saying, you got certain rappers that just know how to make good songs. Like they may not be the best lyricists, but just dope songs, and you just can't help, getting up to it, man. So again, I'm still a big fan, man.
When I met Rakim about 2-3 years ago, I told Rakim, thank you. He said, for what, man? I said, you did something for me that my teachers couldn't do, and that was you encouraged me to read. He said, how? I said, man, I became a straight A student because listening to your songs, I wanted to understand what you were talking about. So I went in that encyclopedia. America, we didn't have Google back then. We didn't have.
You know what I mean? We cheat off, long story short, we cheat off on them cats at the jump off, man, you know what I mean? But my man Eric B took a bad one, man, so yeah, I do got an Eric B story.
And Eric B?
Eric B was the DJ and producer. We've learned over the years now, because of social media, that Eric B didn't play as big of a part in Eric B and Rakim as everybody thought. Eric B was friends with Marley Marl.
For more than 30 years, one of hip-hop's biggest split stories stayed locked down in silence. No interviews, no clear answers, just gossip, guesses, and pieces of the story floating around. Fans kept debating it like it was an unsolved mystery. Industry people talked low about it behind closed doors, but nobody ever laid out the full truth, until now. Rakim, the quiet legend who flipped the whole rap game on its head, is finally stepping up to speak on it. This is not about chasing drama or trying to change the past. Rakim is not here trying to win an old argument. He is breaking it down so people can understand what really went down between him and Eric B. What he shares is deeper than pride or rap rivalries. This story is about pressure, loyalty, and one choice that changed everything overnight. One move that slowly closed the door on a partnership that once looked untouchable. That is why Rakim finally opening up about Eric B hits different now. To really get it, you gotta see how high they were flying back then. This was not just another rap duo breaking up. This was a team that helped shape the sound and style of hip-hop. Back in 1985, William Griffin Jr. was just a quiet young teen from Wyandanch, Long Island, moving low-key and staying out the way. People around his block called him Kid Wizard before the rest of the world would come to know the name Rakim. He had a cool, steady vibe and stayed focused while others chased attention. Sports was his first love, especially football, and he had real dreams of making it to the NFL as a quarterback. At the same time, music kept calling his name louder every day. Jazz played through his home because of his parents, so he grew up sharp on beats, timing, and control. He was never the loudest in the room, never chasing the spotlight, just smooth and calculated with his moves.
I played that tape for him that I had made for college. He was like, I know Marley Marl. So, a little kid, I was a big Marley Marl fan. So, I was still a little, torn because I wanted to play football. So, I told him, I said, well, I'm trying to go to college. But he was like, yo, we can do it where you're a guest to the record and you don't have to sign a contract. That's why the first single in 1985 came out in 86. It was Eric B featuring Rakim. And, featuring means it's just a guest to a record. You don't really have to sign no contract.
Eric Barrier came from a whole different lane compared to Rakim. Eric B was older, more street-aware, and already had solid respect in certain circles. He was moving as a mobile DJ with real equipment, steady money, and strong connections that most upcoming artists could only dream about. He understood how the streets worked, how the club scene operated, and most important, he knew the right people who could actually make things happen. His network even reached WBLS Radio and producer Marley Marl, who was a serious power player in New York at that time. Eric was not known as a technical musician, but he had something just as valuable. He knew how to play the background and make moves happen. He knew how to connect dots and unlock opportunities. When Eric B started searching for an MC to jump on a track he was putting together, he tested a few rappers, but none of them had that spark he was looking for. Then someone pointed him toward Rakim. That one introduction would change everything. Eric wasted no time and brought the young talent straight to Marley Marl's Queensbridge studio setup. That small, simple home studio turned into the starting point of something legendary.
So, I sat there, I said, word, so I can make a record and go play football. So to me, that was like a no-lose situation. So maybe 3 weeks later, he came back to the crib. He's like, yo, let's go to Marley Marl crib. I'm like, well, let's do it. Jumped on the train to Marley crib, Queensbridge, and the rest was history, man. So
The first record they put together was Eric B is President, and it sounded nothing like what was dominating radio back then. Most rap at the time was loud, fast, and full of shouting energy. Artists attacked the microphone trying to overpower the beat. Rakim switched the whole formula up. He stayed smooth. He stayed controlled. His voice sat deep in the rhythm like it belonged there. Instead of fighting the beat, he flowed like he was speaking directly to one person, making you lean in and really pay attention. Rakim later made it clear this was not some industry trick. This was just his natural style. He took his time writing, carefully counting syllables and lining up every bar so it hit just right. Rakim brought a level of precision and deep thinking to rap that most people had never heard before. His style felt calculated, almost scientific, like every word had a purpose. While Rakim focused on the lyrics and creative side, Eric B stayed locked in on the business moves. He handled the deals, the relationships, and made sure things stayed solid behind the scenes. Rakim handled the art, Eric handled the strategy, and together they looked unstoppable. For a long time, that balance made them dangerous in the best way. From 1987 to 1992, they dropped 4 albums that many people still call the backbone of hip-hop's golden era. Paid in Full came in raw and changed the rules.
Marley Marl was the producer for LL, and a lot of people. Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie. So Marley Marl was a major hip-hop producer. He's top 5 producer in hip-hop, for sure. Eric B was friends with him. Rakim brought the samples that he wanted to use for the beat, and Marley Marl just put them together. But, you know, a lot of stuff Eric B takes credit for.
Follow the Leader took things to another level with sharper sounds and bigger ambition. Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em brought a darker, heavier feeling that connected with real street energy. Don't Sweat the Technique showed a cleaner, more mature sound, proving how much they had leveled up. Each project showed growth. Each move looked bigger than the last. Then out of nowhere, everything froze. For a long time, people thought the split had to be personal drama. Fans were convinced there had to be bad blood, jealousy, or clashing egos behind the scenes. Rakim has now cleared that up, saying it was never about hate. According to him, it came down to survival in a tough music industry. By the early 90s, both of them felt stuck in a bad situation. They had signed a deal with MCA Records when they were young and chasing opportunity. Now they were respected names, selling records and packing shows, but the money was not matching their impact. The label had tight control, and escaping that contract felt like trying to break out of a locked room. That is when they started thinking about a risky plan. It was a bold and risky move, no question about it. The strategy they came up with was simple on paper but dangerous in real life. They would tell MCA Records they wanted to drop solo albums. From the label's point of view, that sounded like easy money. More releases, more attention, more profit. At the same time, it would help them quietly complete their group contract. Once both solo projects were finished, they would finally be free agents. The real goal was to come back together later as Eric B and Rakim, but this time with full control and a deal built on their own terms. This was not supposed to be a breakup. It was supposed to be an escape plan.
Yeah. None of that. So we had to go in the encyclopedia. I had to read. I wanted to know what these big words they were using. So what made it appealing to me is because not only was Rakim spitting what I considered knowledge, he was dressed like the drug dealers on my corner, so I could relate to him. Right. You know what I mean? And so that's why I told him what I told him, and I credit him for being my first professor without even knowing me, just from afar, just paying attention to him.
Rakim trusted Eric and agreed to the plan without bringing drama into it. When the legal paperwork came for Eric B to record a solo track, he did not stall or argue. He signed the release papers fast because he believed in the bigger picture. He wanted Eric to succeed. He wanted both of them to level up together. Then the situation flipped. He found his own solo opportunities and brought the same kind of paperwork back to Eric. This time, Eric only had to do what Rakim already did. Just sign his name and keep the plan moving. But that is not what happened. Eric refused to sign. That single moment hit like a silent explosion. Rakim later described sitting there, looking at someone he trusted like family, and realizing something had shifted for real. The loyalty felt different. The same freedom he had given was now being blocked. There was no loud argument, no headlines, just a quiet no that spoke louder than any fight. And when Rakim saw that signature was not coming, one heavy question started sitting in his mind. The same question fans would later ask too. Why stop the plan now? Why would the same person who helped create the idea suddenly be the one standing in the way of it? Looking back now, Rakim feels Eric B might have realized something he did not want to face before.
Dude snubbed G-Rap, hit G-Rap in the face. So they come backstage, and I'll never forget, me and E-Back, they count that paper. All of a sudden the door open, we look up, and it's G-Rap. He like this, yo, Dad just snuffed me, boom, boom, boom. So we like, what? Yo, what's going on out there? He like, yo, son. So we throw the money down, we go outside to the door. I see my dude, S.I. S.I. move down there. Open the door and I see S.I. But behind him, it's like the whole club was right there at the door.
For years, Rakim was the voice people connected with the most. He was the one fans quoted, the one they studied, the one they waited to hear. Eric B played a big role in the image, the moves, and the business side. But when it came to the sound itself, the heart of the music came through Rakim's delivery and writing. If Rakim stepped out solo and it worked, people might start saying something out loud that was only being whispered before, that the sound could still survive without Eric B involved. Rakim has shared that he believes Eric started worrying he might lose him for good. The fear was that if Rakim experienced real independence, moving without having to check in or get approval, he might never want to go back to being part of a duo again. Instead of fully trusting the bond they built over the years, Rakim feels Eric leaned toward control. In that moment, business papers seemed to matter more than personal loyalty. Contracts started to weigh more than handshakes. That decision left a real scar. Rakim has always carried himself by a code. His lyrics always talked about respect, integrity, and meaning what you say. When he signed Eric's release papers, that was his way of showing solid loyalty. But when Eric would not sign his, the message felt cold and clear. Rakim felt like he was not being treated like an equal partner anymore. Instead, he felt boxed in by paperwork instead of backed by trust. Rakim has spoken about how heavy that realization felt. He could not understand why his promise was not enough. If he gave his word, he stood on it. But the belief was not mutual. And once that trust cracked, everything else started to feel secondary. Money problems can be fixed. Contracts can always be renegotiated. But broken trust hits different. Once trust breaks, sometimes it never goes back to what it was. That was the real ending of Eric B and Rakim. Not some public argument, not some headline drama, but a quiet collapse behind the scenes. What came next made everything even worse. Because Eric would not sign the paperwork, Rakim ended up stuck in a legal mess he could not escape.
And he's who I patterned my writing style after. And so that's probably why the East Coast influence came about, was through him, who they called the God MC. You know what I mean? So I was told as a youngster that if you're gonna study something, study the best.
Yeah.
MCA still controlled the group name. Without Eric B, Rakim could not turn in group albums. Without legal freedom, he could not fully move on with solo work either. It was like being locked in a room with no exit. Then the lawsuits started stacking up fast. MCA came with legal pressure. Eric brought his own legal fight. Rakim had to defend himself just to protect his career. The only people really winning during that time were the lawyers collecting checks. Meanwhile, Rakim was forced into silence. From 1993 to 1997, Rakim was almost invisible in the rap world, and the timing could not have been worse. Hip-hop was growing fast and reaching new heights. Wu-Tang Clan was changing the sound. Nas dropped Illmatic and shook the culture. Biggie came in with a powerful presence. Tupac became a global voice. Jay-Z was stepping into his rise. The whole movement was exploding.
If you had to take yourself out the equation, is there someone who you may consider to be the greatest rapper of all time?
Yeah, it's a couple people. You know, one of my favorite MCs is Eminem.
This was the same era Rakim helped inspire. Many of these artists studied his calm flow, his rhyme structure, and his smooth delivery. They were building huge careers on the blueprint he helped design. But while all that was happening, Rakim was at home writing powerful verses he could not even release. He has talked about how heavy that time felt, the stress, the sadness, watching the culture move ahead while he was stuck dealing with court problems, watching artists he inspired become huge stars while he was trying to keep up with legal costs. The God MC was facing real-life struggles, including the fear of losing it all. The only small break in that silence came in 1993, when Rakim appeared on the Gunman movie soundtrack with the track Heat It Up. Rakim even produced that track himself, low-key showing he had way more talent than people were giving him credit for. This was not just a rapper, this was someone who understood the full creative process. The record came out sharp, quick, and full of confidence. You could hear the hunger in his voice. You could hear someone ready to remind the world who he was. Fans picked up on it right away. The energy felt like a comeback was about to happen any minute. But that comeback never came. At least not yet. The legal problems came right back like a locked gate dropping again. Just when it looked like he had space to move, everything froze up once more. Heat It Up ended up feeling like a preview instead of a full return. A small flash of what Rakim still had in his tank, but could not fully show the world yet.
We mixed it up. I ain't bragged about my knuckle game, but I'm kind of nice with my joints. So I run up the dude, hit him with a two-piece. Dude turn around and start running. So now we chasing these dudes through the crowd, then it open up and it's nothing but skating ring now. So chasing these dudes. Whoa. So Big Eric B, my dude, he do something thinking he was gonna do something. He trying to chase this one kid, and he gets close to him and grab him by the back of his coat.
When Rakim finally dropped the 18th letter in 1997, it proved something important. The album hit #1, showing the respect for him never disappeared. Fans still showed love, critics still paid attention, but the lost years could never be returned. Hip-hop had kept moving forward, and now Rakim had to step back into a culture he helped shape and remind a new generation why his name carried weight. Even after all the business drama with Eric B, the pressure around Rakim did not fully disappear. There were still rumors floating around Long Island, quiet talk, side looks, lines in songs that people tried to connect like puzzle pieces. Back then, hip-hop felt like a competitive sport. One lyric taken the wrong way could turn into a real situation fast. During the late 80s, some fans were convinced Eric B and Rakim had problems with EPMD. Both crews came out of Long Island. Both had respect. Both had strong followings. The speculation mostly came from lyrics people were overanalyzing. Rakim dropped I Ain't No Joke with a line about giving someone a smack. Soon after, EPMD dropped You're a Customer, where Parrish Smith rapped about hitting back. That was enough for fans to start connecting dots, whether it was real or not. To a lot of listeners back then, those lyrics sounded very personal. Rakim has since admitted that at the time, he did take it seriously. Everybody involved was young, confident, and full of pride. When you heard a line that sounded close to home, your first thought was that it had to be aimed at you. There was no social media back then to clear up confusion fast. No quick messages, no direct way to check what someone really meant. Most of the time, people just reacted off emotion. What makes this situation almost wild to look back on now is what was really behind it all. The lyric that had people thinking there was tension was actually just a reference to a cereal mascot, Dig'em the Frog from Sugar Smacks. No hidden threat, no secret diss. Just clever wordplay pulled from pop culture.
Damn, it's nasty. I don't care what color he is. I don't care none of that, man. You know what I mean? Real artists respect real artists, man. And especially like a conscious artist that sits down to write. And when he hears another artist that sits down and does his writing, and he know.
I'm still a fan of hip hop.
Like, and you're colorblind too. Like, yeah, it's just about the lyrics.
Word is born. Like, it can be, male, female, white, black. I just, I know it when I hear it, man. And I love it, love to hear it, man. And, people pushing the envelope and keeping the genre alive.
Years later, Rakim and Eric Sermon even talked about it and laughed about the whole situation. Nothing serious was ever there. But the misunderstanding still says a lot about the environment they were moving in at the time. Everything felt tense. Everything felt personal. If something as harmless as a cartoon frog could almost spark problems, imagine how serious real business disagreements could become. That same feeling of suspicion and second-guessing played a role in how things eventually fell apart between Rakim and Eric B. Trust was already fragile, and the pressure around them did not help. Another rumor that stayed attached to Rakim for years hit even harder. Some people tried to claim he was not writing his own rhymes. In hip-hop culture, that kind of talk can damage reputations fast. And for Rakim, that crossed a serious line. For a long time, quiet talk suggested that during the making of Follow the Leader, Rakim might have needed writing help. a claim that would later be addressed head-on.
Brother nasty, you know what I mean? Regardless, you can't take nothing away from his thoughts and his pen.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And M is nasty, man. I tell people to this day, if M was black, he'd be if M was black, he'd be the next Muhammad Ali, man.
The rumor kept spreading, saying music executive Leor Cohen had asked MC Serch from Third Bass to secretly write a track for Rakim. When Rakim got asked about this in later interviews, his usual calm personality switched up fast. You could hear the frustration in his voice. He was direct, serious, and made it crystal clear. Nobody ever wrote his rhymes, not one time, and he stood on that statement with full confidence. What came out later helped clear the whole situation up. MC Serch himself explained that Leor Cohen did approach him because the label was stressing about deadlines and release pressure. Serch did end up writing a track called Step Into the AM, but here is the real twist. Rakim never even knew about it. He never heard the record. He never saw the lyrics. He did not even know the song existed. When the idea was reportedly brought to Eric B., his reaction was strong. He did not like the suggestion at all. According to the story, he shut the whole thing down fast because he felt it was disrespectful to even suggest Rakim needed help writing. The track never made it to Rakim, and MC Serch later used it with his own group. That same song ended up becoming Third Bass's debut single. That whole moment shows two sides of the music business at the same time. On one side, you see how messy and pressure-filled the industry could get behind closed doors. On the other side, you see how serious Rakim was about his craft. His reputation was built on his pen, his ideas, and his originality. Even years later, he still protects that legacy like it is personal because to him, it is. After finally breaking free from the legal drama and releasing the 18th Letter and The Master, Rakim believed the hardest battles were finally behind him. Then he made a move nobody expected. He signed with Dr. Dre's Aftermath Entertainment, and on paper, it looked like the perfect next chapter. At that time, Dr. Dre was coming off massive success. Eminem was running the charts. The West Coast sound was powerful and dominating the industry. Rakim was still seen by many as one of the greatest lyricists ever to touch a mic.
Kid had a sheepskin on. He grabbed the coat, and my man just came, ripped the whole back square of the coat. My man Eric B slipped. He hit the ground and stood about 40 yards on the sheepskin because, skating ring is smooth. The sheepskin. Yo, man, I'm running. I turn around, see Eagle bust out laughing, hit the floor, man. He looked like Batman with his cape in front of him, man. Hold up, it was crazy.
Fans really believed this link-up was about to create one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever recorded. But somehow, it never came out. For years, people kept asking what went wrong. Now Rakim has explained it in a very simple way. The problem was not the talent. It was not the beats. It was not even the effort. The real issue was the creative vision. Dr. Dre had a formula that was proven to win. Heavy production, street-centered stories, hard energy that connected with artists like 50 Cent and The Game. Dre was hoping Rakim would tap into that same aggressive style. He wanted that raw edge, that tougher image, but Rakim was not in that same space anymore. By that stage in his life, Rakim had evolved. He was focused on family. He had grown mentally and spiritually. He had already lived through the experiences people wanted him to rap about again. Going back to telling violent or crime-heavy stories just to match a trend did not feel real to him. To Rakim, that would have felt forced. This created constant creative tension in the studio. Rakim would hear a beat and start building detailed, thoughtful verses. Dre would sometimes pause the process and ask for something more direct, more hard-hitting, more simple. They had respect for each other, but their creative styles were moving in different directions. On top of that, Rakim was living out in Los Angeles while his family was still back in New York. The distance, the expectations, and the creative push and pull started wearing him down. Eventually, he came to a hard truth. Finishing that album would mean compromising who he had become. So he made a quiet but powerful decision. He walked away. Once again, Rakim made a choice that surprised people. He picked integrity over a big opportunity. Instead of forcing something that did not feel right, he stood firm on who he was becoming. Dr. Dre respected that decision and let him out of the deal without turning it into drama. No public shots, no bad energy, just two respected figures going separate ways with mutual respect. Still, that unfinished album remains one of hip-hop's biggest what-if stories. Looking at everything he went through, one thing starts to stand out. Rakim staying quiet all those years was never about weakness. It was about timing. It was about patience. Now that he has finally started sharing his side, it is clear this story was never about hatred. It was about fear, miscommunication, pride, and a man who refused to compromise himself even when pressure was coming from every direction. As Rakim began opening up more, fans started noticing something else too. Eric B has always told the story differently. For years, Eric has described the situation in a much calmer way. From his point of view, nothing was ever fully destroyed. In multiple interviews, he keeps repeating the same message. They did not break up forever. They just stepped back for a while. To Eric, it was burnout, not betrayal. They had been working side by side since the mid-80s, traveling constantly, spending long nights in studios, and carrying pressure most people could not imagine. He compares it to family dynamics. Sometimes people close like brothers just need breathing room. That is how he explains it. Eric B has also pushed back on the idea that his role was only about business. He has made it clear he was digging for records, picking samples, helping shape their public image, and watching their backs in an industry known for taking advantage of young talent. In his eyes, his role was bigger than people gave him credit for. Eric B has often said that from day one, everything between them was equal. No hidden power plays, no one trying to outshine the other. Just two focused artists trying to build something strong together and win as a team. He has made it clear many times that their success came from balance, not competition. But what really catches people's attention is what Eric B usually avoids talking about. He rarely goes deep into the release paperwork situation. He does not clearly explain why Rakim signed his documents without hesitation, but did not receive that same support back. Instead, he speaks more generally about business confusion, poor guidance from management, and outside voices creating tension between them. In Eric's version of the story, the focus is on protecting what they built together. In Rakim's version, the focus is on the exact moment where that trust broke apart. And for about 25 years, that difference in perspective stayed right there between them like an invisible wall. They were still part of the same hip-hop legacy, but their paths almost never crossed. No new albums, no major tours together, just long stretches of silence, with only small moments of mutual respect here and there. Whenever people brought up their names together, it felt like a reunion that might never happen. Then in 2017, something shifted. The biggest reason was simply time. 3 decades had passed since Paid in Full. Hip-hop had matured, and so had they. Along the way, they had seen too many peers pass away. Too many legends never got the chance to fix old problems. Rakim later admitted that pride kept distance between them for years, but eventually, reality hit. Carrying frustration from the early 90s no longer made sense. So they chose a powerful place for a moment like that, the Apollo Theater in Harlem. That night, the building felt packed with history and emotion. The crowd that night was packed with hip-hop legends and heavy hitters. People who fully understood what Eric B and Rakim meant to the culture were all in the building. When the first notes of Paid in Full started playing and Rakim walked onto that stage, the energy went crazy. The reaction was loud, emotional, and full of respect. Eric B stood behind the turntables looking completely natural, like no time had passed at all. It was not some perfect movie-style reunion, though. This was real life. They showed respect to each other, but they were not moving like best friends again. They traveled separately. They handled their business separately. That tight brotherhood feeling from the 80s was different now, but the respect between them was still solid, and when the music played, it still connected. For the fans watching, that alone was powerful enough. Rakim has explained that the reunion was never about acting like the past did not happen. It was about maturity. It was about choosing peace instead of holding on to old pride. It was about realizing time keeps moving whether you are ready or not. That is exactly why Rakim finally speaking his truth matters. By opening up, he did not damage their legacy. He added more depth to it. He showed younger artists how fast things can change when doubt creeps in, how one bad moment can cost years of progress, and how paperwork alone can never repair broken trust. Eric B was afraid of losing Rakim, and in trying to hold on too tight, he ended up losing him anyway. It is one of those hard lessons about trust and control. Rakim lost valuable years right in the middle of his prime. Hip-hop lost the classic albums they might have created together during the 90s. But even with all that, their legacy never faded. Rakim is still seen as a blueprint for real lyricism. You can hear his influence in Nas. You can hear it in Kendrick Lamar. You can hear it in J. Cole. Every calm, confident, layered verse from today's top lyricists carries pieces of the style Rakim helped build. His fingerprint is everywhere in the culture. And when Rakim and Eric B stand on stage together now, with decades of history between them and experience written all over their faces, there is still something powerful about that moment. They may not be as close as they once were, but their impact is still untouchable. The silence between them is finally broken. The truth is finally out. And like always, the music speaks louder than anything else. If you enjoyed this story and want more deep dives like this, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video with another hip-hop fan, and drop a comment with your thoughts on Eric B and Rakim.